Hello. In the previous videos, we went over if-else statements, and while loops. Today, we're going to go over the rest of the program flow commands, and we're going to build a little program that you guys will submit. On this page, I should have a template file for you guys to download and use. This template file has all of the motor and sensor settings already set up for you. So you're going to go to open that file. It should be called template. It will most likely be in your downloads folder. If you want, you can save that to a different folder on your computer, upload it to OneDrive so you have it, or you can always re-download it off of Canvas. So the one thing is to always make sure is under robot, make sure the platform type is on VEX 2.0 Cortex. Even though this will have the proper sensor set up, sometimes if you're either on a new computer or haven't opened the program on that computer yet, it might default to the VEX IQ robot, so just double check and make sure it's on 2.0 Cortex, or it might throw up error messages saying that the controller doesn't have those proper sensors on it. Afterwards, you can click the motor and sensor setup just to confirm. You should have a left motor on port 1, claw motor on port 6, arm motor on port 7, right motor on port 10, 5 different analog sensors, light, potentiometer, and 3 line followers, and then 5 digital sensors, the right encoder, the front distance sonar sensor, the bumper button, the limit switch, which is mounted on the end of the arm, and the left wheel encoder. If all that's correct, you can click OK to back out. So I'm going to go more in depth on each of these program flow commands and in what kind of situations you would want to use them. The repeat command is simply just you can have an action repeated however many times you want. So it'll loop a preset amount of times and then move on to the next part of the code. Repeat forever is loops inside this indefinitely. So it's the same thing, it's just you're taking this number and you're essentially turning it up to infinity. This is a good tool to have as basically your program wrapper, as in all of your code should go inside this, because when you're executing a code on your robot, you want it to continually run. Because the way a program runs is it'll go in sequence through every line of code, and then when it gets to the end, it'll stop. But if all of it is within the forever loop, it'll then go back to the beginning and just keep rechecking all of your conditions and keep adjusting based on all of your sensor data, and then what kind of logical expressions you have to determine what happens when certain conditions are met. We have repeat until. So again, just like the other repeats, it repeats, but this time it uses a sensor. So repeat with the number is a set amount of loops until it exits. Repeat forever is an indefinite amount of loops. Repeat until will repeat as long as necessary until the condition is met. So as long as this logical expression is false, it'll repeat until this logical expression is true. We've gone over while in the if statements. So the last one is the wait until command. So this is kind of a pause. Down below there is a pause command, which is just the wait command. So that just waits for a specific amount of time. If you want something to be a delayed reaction, or if you press the button to turn on the robot and you want it to wait so you can clear the area before it starts, you can do something where you know you have a specific amount of time, whether it's seconds, milliseconds, or minutes. The wait until command, again, uses sensor data. So whenever you have a drop-down menu, you're either going to use sensor data or timers or variables, and then you're going to set a condition, and it'll wait until the condition is met. So as long as it's false, it'll wait. When it's true, it will then proceed forward. This doesn't loop it, it just is kind of like a stop sign for your program. So we can take these 3 commands and kind of make some kind of function. So we have our robot. It has the left and the right wheel, the arm, and the claw. And then it has the array of sensors from the light sensor, the potentiometer, the encoders, the button, the limit switch, the sonar. So like I said, we're going to put our repeat forever loop at the top, and everything else is then going to go inside of it. So we're going to use all four of these once to create a program to have the robot do something. So we can have it start up. So we can have the program wait until the button is equal to 1. So when this code starts, we'll go into this repeat loop, and it's just going to wait here until the button is pressed. So therefore, when you start the program, it's not going to do anything. It needs that button to be pressed for it to then move on. So that's our stop sign. So this is our on button, essentially. We're turning the bumper button into a start button for the program. Like, yes, you have to turn on the controller, flip the switch, and the program starts running immediately. But it's going to start and then just pause here on line 2 until then we press the button, and then the program will then be able to proceed forward. After we press the button, we can have it repeat a beep. We can make a beeping noise 3 different times. So we can go down to sounds, have it play a sound. It gives different sounds, so we can do a low buzz. You guys can really pick any of these sounds, and it's going to repeat that sound 3 times. Now, like before, we can set a little wait timer afterwards for 1 second, just so you can hear the distinction. Because if you play the sound back to back to back without a pause, it's going to sound like one long sound. Whereas instead, with a pause in between, we'll be able to hear 3 distinct sounds. So you'll hear a low buzz, a 1 second pause, a low buzz, 1 second pause, low buzz, 1 second pause, and then it'll proceed into the next part of the program. After that, we can use our repeat until loop to have the robot drive. So again, we can set multiple motors. You could also use the forward command or the individual set motors and put them individually how many motors you would need. So doing this and setting port 1 to left and then the other one to right, so we have our 2 wheel motors moving. It's the same thing as choosing left and right separately. So this code right here is equivalent to both of these codes. So you can choose one or the other. You do not need both. So what this is going to do is it's going to repeat indefinitely and cause the motor to move forward. So what do we want to cause this to stop? We could have it use our sonar sensor again to stop it from running into something. So we'll choose the sonar value from the drop-down menu. Again, we're going to want to use a less than sign, so repeat until our sonar value is less than, let's go with 6 inches. So when it's less than 6 inches, it's going to exit this, and then we will have our stop all motors command. So this is just when it falls out of this loop, it's moving until we go under 6 inches, and then it's going to exit this, go to line 10, stop all motors. At this point, since we have our repeat forever loop, it'll go back to line 2 and wait. So what this program does is we turn it on, the robot will sit still until we press the button. It'll then make 3 buzzing sounds and then proceed to just drive straight forward until it comes within 6 inches of an object and then stop and wait again until we press the button. So that way, if it's about to run into a wall, you can stop. It'll stop automatically. You can pick it up, reposition it, and then press the button to let it know that it can restart the program essentially. So this is just a simple way to layer in the different program flow commands. You could also add in while loops or the if statements, depending on if you want to make multiple choices. Each of these repeat loops, it's you're doing one specific choice, whether it's doing something a set amount of times that we are dictating, or waiting for one sensor to hit a certain criteria to then exit that loop. So you just have to determine if there's multiple choices, if else was the best option. If it's just one choice and you want to loop, you could do while or the repeat until. They're pretty analogous in their the way they operate. And it's just, again, breaking down the problem into bite-sized pieces and then being able to assess how you want to use your sensors and then how those sensors are going to affect what outputs you are giving to the controller. So for this, we want the robot to move until it's about to run into something and stop. So that's how we determine to set the motors to move and then stop them all when we want it to stop. So once you build this little program, make sure you always say File, Save As. Don't just click the Save button, because remember, if you open the template file, it's just going to overwrite your blank template. But you want to make sure you keep the template blank so you can come in and then use it again for other codes further down the line. So you have to go to File, Save As, and then you can save it as whatever you really want, preferably something with your name in it. So when you upload to Canvas, I can identify whose code it is, since you can't put your name, or you can put your name in a comment. Remember, the comment will not affect the operation of the code. You can place it really wherever you want, top, bottom, whatever. It doesn't matter. You can put your name on it, you can put your period, who cares? Again, it doesn't affect how the function operates. It just adds information and context for whoever's viewing the code. So then File, Save As. I'm going to name it Program Flow Commands, and I'm going to save it. And then after that, just upload it to Canvas, and that's all for this one.